is Stephen Teeters. I'm the manager here at CoalitionNutrition in State College downtown. I'm from Huntington, Pennsylvania, and I've been in State College for the past few years. And I'm a competitive powerlifter. So in powerlifting, we compete in 3 main events. We compete in the squat, bench, and deadlift. You're trying to get your maximum weight lifted to get the highest total of the 3 lifts possible. I'm a 198 pound lifter in the open division. I am a sleeve lifter, so I don't use the knee wraps, I don't use gear, completely raw. So we get a belt, sleeves, wrist wraps, and that's it. I started off lifting in general as a 98 pound weakling, and I got a lead role in a musical. So I had to have my shirt off in front of 400 people, and I looked like Skeletor. So I decided I was going to put some weight on, and I turned out loving it. A couple years later, got really lucky and just met the right people. Did a meet and fell in love. That was after about 6 years of lifting. So I just really got lucky in that I loved strength sports and met the right people at the right times. So far in competition, I've done a 655 squat, a 435 bench, and only a 660 deadlift in competition. In training, it's been a little better, but if you ask most people, it doesn't matter what you hit in training. It matters on the platform, so those numbers don't even matter. My biggest problem overall is, as I mentioned earlier, I can't stay healthy, and it's largely my fault. Is I haven't done a lot of the simple things that you need to do: stretching, warming up properly. You know, you're getting older. You got to make sure that your joints are in good shape, and just in general, I mentioned I was of small frame, so injuries are going to come with the territory. So that's my biggest issue with powerlifting right now, is just trying to keep from ripping another muscle. You do the little things. So prehab, rehab is probably a little bit of a different terminology for most people, but it's about doing little motions, things for your rotator cuff, things for your adductors and abductors and your hips. There's a lot of just tiny little motions that are really monotonous, but if you don't take that 5 minutes to do them, you're going to end up hurt on the platform. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of young lifters to learn. Take care of the little muscles, do that prehab, rehab, and make sure you're stretching, things like that, so you can at least make it to the platform. I didn't used to believe in programming, really. I was lucky that I was able to get strong with just continuously lifting harder and harder until eventually you hit maybe a big number, but it's going to break you. And it's because you didn't plan appropriately. Though I knew it was a thing, I didn't follow it, and you lose that big picture. So what I did with programming was I took my training out of my own hands and I gave it to James Klemick, he ran Penn State powerlifting for a couple years. So he basically trained the entire team there. And what he's done is given me a linear model that keeps me from overlifting. That it may seem like you want to go into the gym and you don't want to do enough, but if you don't have a program and you're a true athlete, you're going to go way too hard. You're probably going to hurt yourself, and you're going to cause a detriment in the long term, thus the injuries. So in terms of programming, you need to have something in place. Something is better than nothing. But taking it out of your own hands is a big part of the equation, because you're usually a little too close to the problem to give an accurate answer. So that varies so much lifter to lifter. Mine's extremely unique in that I eat almost whatever I want, often not enough, and I just try to maintain my weight. I get enough protein in a day, usually with some supplemental help, just because I don't like cooking 7 meals a day. So I'm gonna have a couple shakes and things like that, but a lot of pizza, a lot of burgers, making sure I'm getting anywhere from 3,000 to 3,500 calories a day, just to make sure I'm not losing weight and so that I can recover from session to session, because if I can't recover, my training and new program is screwed. So the diet is just about getting enough for me, which is very different to most people. Dan Green's kind of my idol. When I was just really getting into powerlifting raw after Penn State, I started pulling sumo, and so I looked up sumo videos for deadlifts, and Dan Green, I just looked at him, and he's a mammoth guy for being 5'5", and just freaky strong. And I saw that, and I was like, I want to be that guy. I want to be Herculean for a 5'8" man. So Dan Green's definitely the guy I look up to. There's a couple things. One is don't be afraid to ask. The big guys in the gym, though they might be intimidating, they're usually the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And they have years of training that you never did, and they have lots of advice that you never knew. So even though there's not one piece of advice that I would say, I'd say don't be afraid to ask. Aside from that, have a plan. It goes a long way. And I've been training for 10 years roughly without a plan. It makes me wonder what I could have done with a plan. So those are the two big things I would give to newer lifters. Don't be afraid to ask, have a plan. My first short-term goal is to stay healthy. That's the number one priority. If anyone has followed my training in the years, they know that I have some issues with that. But the big goal for this coming meet on June 25th in York, PA, it's the IPA Strength Spectacular, is to hit an 1,800 total between my squat, bench, and deadlift, which would be a fairly solid ranking within the US for 198 male lifters. So realistically, I would like to squat about 675. That would be ideal. Between a 420 and 440 bench, just stay conservative there, and between a 700 and 750 pull. Long-term goal is to hit a 2,000 total at either 198 or 220. At this point, doing it at 198 seems a little lofty. Only one person in history has ever done it. But at 220, it's a little more feasible just for my body in general, for it to hold up over time. Best achievement by far was winning a national title with Penn State. That was pretty surreal. I was a 183 lifter 2 years ago, I believe, and didn't lift geared at all, which for those of you who don't know, that's with the squat suit, bench shirt, and then you can use the suit to deadlift as well. But I won a national championship there, and in February 2 years ago, I hit a 1,700 total at 198 and kind of put my name out there as one of the stronger athletes. So those are my two big accomplishments thus far.